What's an interesting question about the Jacksonville Jaguars is, can they rekindle everything that they've had in that locker room? I'm friends with UCF Jaguar. I don't want to alienate myself from a fan base. Why the heck should I? Maybe for views? I don't know. But if I go to a Jaguars game, hopefully people will then say, that guy is a decent person and whatever, and I'll disagree with his opinions, but I'll still, have a beer with him and talk football. I said at the beginning of the years the Jags would suck. I also said the Rams would suck. I like saying that teams will suck when everybody thinks teams will be good. I like saying that teams will be really good when teams say that they will suck. Overall, I happen to get a couple of things right. I'll start off modestly with what I got wrong. I said Jared Goff was a complete bust. I said that Davis Webb was better than Jared Goff. I said that Jared Goff and the Rams would be 6-10. I said that Ndamukong Suh, that Talib, coming over, that they wouldn't click, that Marcus Peters wouldn't click. What I got wrong is that those guys have done fine. Ndamukong Suh actually is a very bright guy. He graduated from Nebraska. If you listen to any of his interviews, he's very bright. He's not the dirty player that does not know at all he's a very articulate guy if you actually listen to his interviews, and he's learned a lot. I mean, sometimes his temperament was poor, but he's improving as a player and as a person. And you have Michael Bennett and Sue, and the thing about the Rams is that they have a tremendous culture. They have tremendous leaders. They have Goff and Todd Gurley on the offensive side, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, very unselfish receiver room that I really like. But also their head coach, Sean McVay, is young, dynamic, and their defensive coordinator, Wade Phillips, has been great and has been really experienced. And Shane Waldron's a great coach, and they have great young coaches that have replaced Matt LaFleur on that coaching staff. When you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, I watched their full game versus the Texans, and that team flat out freaking quit. Against the Cowboys, that team, the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is so appalled at how shitty the offense is that they're completely quitting on the coaches and their message. When Leonard Fournette went down, the defense had no affirmation to go out and compete because they saw that Blake Bortles cannot win them a championship. And the problem is when you have personalities like the Jaguars have drafted, where they've really drafted talent, and the personalities of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I believe, other than Calais Campbell, maybe Church, you look at Jalen Ramsey, Yannick Ngakoue, Miles Jack, these are all really young players. And the fact about Jalen Ramsey is that this Jaguars defense, they are talkers. They are shit talkers. They're trash talkers. And now that trash talk is now being actually thrown at the offense. They're now, instead of throwing it at other defenses and other teams, they're now throwing it at themselves. And the fact is with this team is that when you have such young, very outgoing personalities, when the team and the offense does not support you through adversity, this team is getting thrown for a loop. And I think it's a personality standpoint, is that the coaching staff, Doug Marrone right now, is clearly faced with, he has to make progress somehow with this team or he's going to end up getting fired, because Tom Coughlin is going to get a coach that can control this team. Last year, the Jaguars suspended Fournette for missing a team photo, and that actually helped propel the Jaguars because the culture was very rigid and the coaching staff was rewarded because the Jaguars players achieved a great deal by beating the Steelers, by beating the Bills, by winning their division, by getting to the conference championship, by competing in that conference championship and actually having an opportunity to get to a world championship game, to get to a Super Bowl. So the Jaguars achieved so much, and that bar was set so high and the expectations were so high. But the fact is, Doug Marrone in his time in the NFL is not a creative offensive coordinator. You talk talk to Bills fans and they look at Nathaniel Hackett and he's never had success. He was considered a flat-out bust. You look at Todd Wash as a defensive coordinator. No one considered him for a head coaching job. This coaching staff, other than Tom Coughlin, who's really calling the shots, is very pedestrian. I believe Marrone's a nice guy, but that doesn't mean I think Marrone's an elite coach at all. He has no offensive creativity. He's an offensive line coach. These Jaguars are a run-the-football team. They are a throwback to the 80s, and that's fine, but the fact is you have no Leonard Fournette, and you also don't have a quarterback that can play action fake anymore. You have a quarterback that has a hitch in his delivery, that is very, very inconsistent, that has played a lot of games and has not progressed. And this year, Blake Bortles has not progressed. And even last year, he was very shaky. Even in weeks 14 and 15, when he played Tennessee Titans the last week of the season, he was not very good. When he played against the 49ers and he went out to Arizona, those were two teams that were not playoff teams, and Blake Bortles was not very good. Blaine Gabbert beat that Jacksonville team. Then Blake Bortles put up 10 points at home in a playoff game, and it's just that Tyrod Taylor and the Bills' offense was more terrible that day. Then the Steelers' defense gave Blake a lot of short fields, and Bortles did play really well against the Patriots and against the Steelers. Blake Bortles is mentally a pretty good quarterback. He puts up with a ton of bullshit around him, and that's kind of why, in a weird way, I do respect Blake Bortles, and I totally get the passion for people that like Blake Bortles, because they're tired of Chris Sims, and they're tired of people telling them how much Blake Bortles sucks. And they're tired when Blake goes to an AFC Championship game that Cody Kessler, who wasn't even good in the Pac-12, is going to come in and is a better quarterback when Cody Kessler, 6 feet tall, has 9-inch hands. Well, actually, he has big hands, but he's still 6 feet tall, and his arm strength is still very, very weak. So, in a long story short, I thought the Jags would suck this year because they would not sustain the expectations from last year. The expectations were too high. The offense was not very good. The defense has performed a lot worse than I expected, but the personality of Ramsey and all these guys, it's really just Jalen Ramsey, because that's the one player that really is out there in the media all the time. I know Miles Jack, but Puzleski is gone. Calais Campbell, there have been injuries on this Jaguar team, and the fact is about Jacksonville is that they're quitting, and it's sad. The Texans are not a 13-point better team than Jacksonville. DeAndre Hopkins shouldn't be catching all those passes. The Texans shouldn't be having that much efficiency. Dak Prescott should never be having that type of efficiency against a Jaguar team that's locked in, but this Jaguar team is quitting mentally. It's a lot of a mental thing. The NFL is a short season. During the week, teams prepare. That's why upsets happen, because mentally you can't predict things in the NFL, especially in the early part of the season. So you look at Jacksonville and these personalities, and this coaching staff has got to figure out ways to really get this defense playing hard and trusting Blake Bortles or trusting the offense and just playing, doing their job, and being supportive of their teammates instead of going out in the media and instead of saying these like two-faced answers of, well, I'm not going to address the elephant in the room, but I'm sure you guys know all about it. That is actually a two-faced comment. By you not saying anything about the offense, you're actually insulting it even more, and you're just, it's even like an anonymous comment. It's just annoying. And the fact is, the Jaguars had an all-out brawl in the locker room. So I said the Jags wouldn't be good because I didn't believe in Blake Bortles. I don't believe in Blake now. I don't believe in this coaching staff. And last year, things went right for this team. I don't believe you're sustainable unless you have a very good coach and unless you have a quarterback that is decent, like a top 15 very good quarterback, like a Rivers or a Stafford or something. And the fact is, Bortles is not a consistent quarterback. So, for the Jags, maybe they can somehow get a quarterback that is a decent player. Maybe they can get a good quarterback. Maybe they can draft one. Maybe they can have a passing game. Maybe they can get an offensive coordinator that isn't so damn predictable. But I was right about the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I was right about the Kansas City Chiefs before the year started. So that's it. I'm not going to smile. I could poke fun at the Jacksonville Jaguars fans, but if I were the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would seriously look towards getting Drew Lock, and I'd also look if there's people on the defensive side that are honestly chirping too much. I wouldn't get rid of Jalen Ramsey, but if there's people that are not healthy to that locker room, that are honestly getting in fights in the locker room, then those people have to be removed, especially if they're not amazing defensive talents. Now, the one thing is, when you're a defensive cornerback, the good news is that you have one assignment to do. You're not like a wide receiver that has to work with a quarterback. So it's a little bit different. When you're on the defensive side of the ball, your personality can be more outgoing. It can be really trash talky and crazy, almost like Josh Norman and Sherman when you're a cornerback, because it's very one-on-one based. You could be Marcus Peters and Talib. But when you're a wide receiver and you have to play in a system, you have to get along with the quarterback and your coaches even more so, and you have to block and be extremely unselfish, then things even get even more tricky and messed up. So that's what Jacksonville needs to do. They need to settle down. I still would ride out Blake Bortles till the end of the season. I don't think Derek Carr is a very good player. I do like Drew Lock a whole lot. He has tons of potential. He has a great arm. He will actually scare defenses. He has good mobility, very good leadership qualities. He would be a good quarterback. Daniel Jones the same way. Both of those guys are talented players that honestly will really command a ton of respect in the locker room. For this Jaguars quarterback, especially with the personalities that the team does have, you're going to need a quarterback to come in there, and the quarterback needs to get along with the defensive players. They can't be a quiet quarterback at all, or they're going to get eaten up in that Jaguars locker room. They need to be able to communicate with this team, and they need to be able to lead the team on the offense, kind of like Baker Mayfield is doing in Cleveland. So that's kind of how I look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, I didn't like Marrone. I don't really like Hackett. I don't really like those coaches. I do like Tom Coughlin. I like Wash. I like a little bit of what the Jags are doing. I do like Fournette a lot. I do like Jalen Ramsey. This defense is talented. Miles Jack. I mean, they were incredible last year. One of the great defenses of the past couple of years. That's the thing about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't trust the offensive staff. I don't trust the quarterbacks. I don't trust the weapons on the outside. I don't trust Marrone or Hackett. And flat out, I think you need a very strong coach that's going to really keep this defense in line, and you need a coach and a quarterback where everybody is going to be pulling in the right direction. And for Jacksonville right now, can they figure that out in time? Can they get it all together? Can they make aggressive moves that will support that? Can they be urgent? Can they take this great defense and can they quickly reshape it and make this team into a contender again quickly? We will see. We will see.